Nintendo will not stop posting stuff about Xenoblade 3, which is great. I am glad we have a lot of news, but I keep saying, okay, I am ready to get started on this video, and then they post more stuff. So, I just decided to make the video, and if they reveal more stuff, I'll just make another video, because, good lord, they will not stop. I just wanted to be able to get something out to you guys this week. Okay, well, future XenoBits here. Right while I was recording lines, they posted the Xenoblade Note Volume 3, so I'll also be interjecting about the few new pieces of info we got from there. Before we dive into the analysis, I just want to ask that if you guys enjoy the content on the channel, please drop a sub and a like on this video. On my recent videos, it seems like a majority of you watching haven't been subscribed, so I'd appreciate it a ton if you could. It lets me know that you like what I'm doing and allows me to make more stuff for you guys in the future. Also, it's free. One last thing, you might want to take a look at my previous analyses that I've done for Xenoblade 3 if you haven't. It'll give you a bit more context on some of the things I talk about here. With that, let's get to the news. So, for those unaware, the Japanese website has a short video with extended versions of some of the scenes found in the release date trailer. I'll play those for you right now. There's not a whole lot of info here, but honestly it's just a little jarring to see more of a cutscene that I've watched over 100 times. Kamaravi and Iserd have both been given character profiles. I'll talk about Kamaravi first. He's the commander of Colony Delta and Agnes, and also known by the name Smoldering Kamaravi due to his fiery passion on the battlefield. He values respect in combat, even towards his opponents who he'll battle fairly. He has a drive for victory, no matter the cost. So, my previous assumption of him being an honorable warrior like Meta Knight was spot on. I will point out that previously, some people, myself included, were calling him Crimson Lotus Kamaravi rather than Smoldering Kamaravi. This is because of the way the Japanese characters were written. Since the language is pretty complex, the fan translators understandably read it one way, but it actually meant a different one. Smoldering Kamaravi is the most accurate and is the official translation. His lance also reminds me a lot of Numa's sword while using Infinity Blade in Xenoblade 2. Whether or not that actually means anything, we'll have to see. Iserd is the military chief and tactician of Agnes's colony, Lambda. The post says he is honest and highly trusted by his soldiers, but seems unable to forget his past, which deeply burdens him. In the past, Iserd mentored his beloved student Taion and taught him much about tactics, but now he's attacking Taion and the others. I can already tell that this dude is trauma incarnate. Just look at him in his punchable Amalthus face. This man is going to be the final boss or something leading up to the final boss, you mark my words. If you look at their official art and even some shots in the trailer, you can notice that these two have insane bags under their eyes. So either the Agnes military whips you like a workhorse and you don't get to sleep, or my theory that Iserd and now Kamaravi are Blade Eaters is being given a bit more weight. This next post explains that the characters that fill the 7th party member slot are called heroes, and throughout the story, we'll get to see all sorts of different characters fill that slot. I wonder if they'll only be tied to the main story or not, like maybe doing certain quests and talking to certain NPCs will give you access to even more heroes. I also hope that they're not a temporary thing, like if you finish the event that the hero is tied to, I hope they don't go away forever. This really does feel like a combination of the recruitment system from Xenoblade X and the blade system from Xenoblade 2, which is pretty cool. Speaking of heroes, Riku and Minana get their own character profile, and we learn a little bit more about their roles in the story and gameplay. Riku is a mechanic who specializes in maintaining Kevis's colonies and is able to craft items for the party. Minana was once the head chef of her colony and also cooks for Mio and her friends. So, it would seem that in addition to being party members, cooking and crafting might be tied to the two of them. These videos of them mostly reiterate what we know already about their occupations. However, Riku, in addition to treating Noah and friends like sidekicks, mentions that they're from Colony 9. The Colony 9. Shulk's Colony 9. This is huge news. This is the only time that we get explicit confirmation that a location from a previous game is intact. Well, assuming that this is the same Colony 9. Manana doesn't say anything too interesting other than the fact that she is willing to cook Gonzalez meat. Ew. The translations for these videos were done by Watte TV, and I'll link his channel down in the description. So this is a clip we've seen before, but this time it's in English. It's actually slightly different though, because they needed to get similar gameplay footage, but in a different language. The most important thing in this video is on the right side of the screen. This is 100% a pouch item icon. This indicates to me that from now on, we'll have one pouch item for the whole party. And honestly, I kinda prefer that. Managing so many pouches between several drivers in Xenoblade 2 could be very tedious at times, so even though we lose some customization options and freedom, I think that this simplification is probably for the best. I think it's safe to assume that Manana will be cooking pouch items for us, since we know that she's a chef. This short video, along with its tweet, explains how to revive an ally. We also get to hear a new battle theme here as well, but only briefly. This clip shows us that you have to press and hold A next to them, rather than just tapping it. This is something that only healers can do now due to the absence of the party gauge. What's interesting about this is after Uni revives Lons, her talent arc gets a bit of a boost. In a previous clip, we see her get a much smaller boost when she heals. It seems like when healers do supportive actions, they get a talent art increase. I like the idea that other actions could fill up arts. Maybe defenders taking damage meant for other characters could speed their cooldowns up? In this video, we see Noah's arts and how they recharge. It seems like when inflicting a status or activating a positional art properly that his talent art recharge also goes up. His auto attacks do not affect any of the cooldowns though. His normal arts do recharge over time, but worry not. I am sure that there will be ways to speed up the Kevez art recharge to be at a similar speed to the Agnes arts. It would be a major oversight if all the Kevez classes were just way worse than the Agnes classes. I'm sure it'll be fine. One thing to note here, when a character's health enters the red, a red exclamation point will appear over them. I think that this is just a nice quality of life change that makes it so healers don't have to constantly stare at the health bars on the left side. We sort of had something similar with character health bars hovering over their heads in Xenoblade 1, so I'm glad to see this feature returning. The healer and defender classes got a spotlight internationally, and the gameplay is a little different than what we previously saw. The defender video doesn't show us anything that interesting, but the healer video certainly does. When this Brog dies, it drops yellow and blue items in some sort of bag, so just like in Xenoblade 2, it's likely that gold and items will fall onto the floor when you beat enemies. Xenoblade 3 will also be adding more monster designations, each with a slightly different battle tag design. We have the normal enemies that are the most common in the world. Then you have elites, which are the same enemies but stronger. Then we have lucky enemies, which are the same as normal enemies, but they have a higher drop rate for rare items. Finally, unique monsters make a return as expected. These new naming conventions are why we see the wing icons hover over enemies now. At just a quick glance, we can tell what designation it is, rather than just flipping through all the available enemies while running past them. This clip shows us the lure ability, but honestly that is the least interesting thing happening here. We get to hear the unique monster theme, and it is an absolute banger. There's also this flame icon on the health bar of the enemy for some reason. It could indicate that the enemy is enraged, or it could be some other special thing, like possibly a damage threshold that maybe gives the enemy access to more attacks. This is Milik Meadows. Milik Meadows? More like Milik my b****. Okay, but anyway, this is the equivalent to Gormott and Bionis Leg. This is made much more obvious by the fact that it seems that the remains of Bionis Leg and Gormott are located here. We can see those iconic landmasses back there, as well as both what I can assume are the KOS-MOS and Zack's guideposts. After seeing extremely tiny versions of him in previous screenshots, our boy Territorial Rotbar is front and center. Even through a dimensional merger, he's gonna stay in a nice, big, grassy field. I also noticed these red things that look like some sort of transparent plant. If you have any idea on what these could be, let me know down in the comments. This post shows us more of the Aegis Wilderness, which we've also seen a lot in promotional material. It seems to be a combination of the Fallen Arm and a Xenoblade 2 Titan like More Ardain or maybe even Torna. The text of the post explains that we'll spot a giant mechanical finger while avoiding sandstorms. I don't know if this implies that the sandstorms will be hazards or if it's just world building. This image offers us a glimpse at an extremely important feature. If we look past this yellow fellow here, we can see that tombstones have returned from Xenoblade 2. Good lord, this is incredible. They didn't come back in Definitive Edition, so I was worried, but Monolith has assuaged my doubts. The same image also features a floating rock, which is extremely odd. I don't know if this is some sort of perspective trick, but it certainly looks like it's floating. That is not something that happens naturally in Xenoblade 2. In Future Connected, we do see it happening, and the explanation is that the rocks contain a mineral called hoverstone, so maybe that's what this is. It is, however, something that happens in Xenoblade X as well. This is yet another small detail lending credence to the fact that X could take place after 3. Check out my X prequel theory to learn a little bit more about that. This next area is Great Cot Falls, which I'm having a hard time pinning the inspiration of. Maybe it's Bionis Shoulder or Aerith Sea on the Xenoblade 1 side, and Leftheria on the Xenoblade 2 side. This location is where Colony Lambda resides, which we've seen in the previous 2 trailers actually. In this image, we see a rainbow, which could mean that the rainbow weather effect is making a return, or this rainbow is just always here in the daytime. Over here, we see a really tiny campfire, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The biggest piece of information in this set of images, though, is this decrepit building. I don't think it would be too crazy to say that this is from Moratha, or that it's just any random building that could have been on the Earth's surface. This makes my head spin, but not as much as the next area. Maktha Wildwood is by far the most interesting area they've shown off so far. It gives me heavy Prison Island vibes. Well, not Xenoblade Prison Island, but Sonic Adventure 2 Prison Island. It's seemingly a combination of Makna Forest and the land of Moratha. I mean, come on, Maktha? Moratha? Makna? The forest has completely overtaken Moratha, as we see vines and trees moving through buildings. Maybe parts of this could even be pieces of the World Tree. I love this idea so much, and I cannot wait to explore this area. If we check out this massive plant over here, we can see a grind rail underneath it. We did see one of these rails before in the first trailer, so it seems like there will be a number of these scattered around the world, and it won't be just a one-off thing. The website tells us that field skills are indeed returning from Xenoblade 2, and these can be used to do things like climb walls, and as we see here, grind on rails. Now, before you go to the comment section and type, "Wait, I hate field skills. Also, XenoBits, I'm going to subscribe to you," I'll say thank you. But I'll also say that field skills seem to work a little bit differently in Xenoblade 3. They aren't tied to party members anymore, and you don't need to sort anything in your menus to make them activate. If I'm understanding it correctly, they work a lot more like X's field skills. The way you find more and level them up is by meeting more people in the world, and I presume finishing side quests. This image shows another campfire, and now that it's a little bit closer to the camera, I'll talk about it. This convinces a lot of people that the campfire mechanic from Torna is returning. I would imagine that Riku and Manana's crafting and cooking would be tied to the campfires, and honestly, that would be sweet if true. This was a really good way to consolidate all of those menus into one simple and easy location. To wrap up the section on locations, I'll talk about this image of the map we're shown. The map is extremely detailed, and like the other UI, has a large amount of orange. The website says, some of these landmarks are rare and unexplored, so to search for the best views, explore every corner of the world. I think this rare and unexplored line could reference that secret areas are returning, but with the context that no one has actually been to them before. I guess if the universes did recently merge, it would be fair to assume that no one has been to certain parts of this world yet. On the right side of the image, we're shown that we can alter the time of day straight from the map screen, which is a big change. It's usually its own menu, and you're able to change the time by the hour, but here it looks like we can only pick morning, day, evening, and night. These two icons over here I presume are a landmark and location icon, but this up here, I have no idea. Maybe it's a rare item or a unique monster? It could also be a mark made by the player, because down here, these commands on the bottom right translate to marker and remove marker. So we can finally mark our maps. That is such a wonderful change. It makes me even more excited to be able to explore this world. Alright, and that is everything I noticed in this giga-sized update. I'm sure that there are things here that I may have missed, so if you see something that I didn't, feel free to let me know in the comments. Not only is the story and gameplay of Xenoblade 3 ramping up to be fantastic, but the world design and quality of life changes look so great. We only have about 2 more months before we're graced with this game, so if you're as excited as I am, be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on every iota of Xenoblade 3 content. If you liked the video, be sure to let me know. Thanks to all of my channel members for their continued support, and a special thanks to Toplay, who's a legendary Blade member. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!